there, share some great ideas, some best practices, and answer a lot of questions. But before we do any of that, Jen, welcome to the call. Do me a favor, introduce yourself for people who don't know who you are, and then we'll get into some Q&A here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jimmy. I am Jen Dillard. I am also a real estate agent and a team leader over in Hood River, Oregon, a small town outside of Portland, and have been in the real estate industry since 2007. Took a break, had some babies, and got back into it full force. And yeah, have been working as a real estate agent, a speaker, a trainer, and I'm so excited to be here.
Well, it's funny, Jen, because you and I mentioned a couple of years ago, and one of the things that I love about your approach to business is that you have definitely embraced this mindset of trying and experimenting with new ideas. And I think this represents, I actually just put this in on Facebook yesterday. I talked about sort of the competition score that we have. But before I cover that real quick, in the chat, we want to make sure the chat's working. Let us know where you're calling in from today. Let's make sure the chat is good to go. We have to make sure it's enabled. Hold on. There we go. I don't know. I still don't know why. What's up? What's up, Paul? There we go. Listen, we got some people from New
Wow.
Hampshire. We got some people from New Hampshire. Hey, Ashley. Listen, as everyone maybe knows or doesn't know, but I am born and raised in New Hampshire. I have a place in New Hampshire where I spend most of my time. So it's always great to see my home
We've
state
got
represented.
we've
Dallas.
got Canada.
That's awesome. There we go.
The latest
Well,
set
welcome
that's just
everybody.
come
We got
out.
another Hood River person in the room here too, Jen. But Jen, what I was saying was, I put out this data. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this. Let me just share my screen so you can see this, because I would love to get your perspective before we dive into today's training. I'm going to share my screen so you can see this, Jen. I shared this recently, which is I call it the competition score, and I talked about. You should be able to see my screen now. I talked about how right now in real estate, we're living through sort of this really unique moment over the last 15 years, which is when you look at the number of people selling real estate and you look at the number of listings selling, existing home sales selling, you realize that we are living through a period of what I call a competition crisis, where it is becoming so insanely competitive for the everyday agent to be successful. And if you compare this to even 10 years ago, kind of post the global financial crisis, you see that it is 4 or 5 times more difficult, just on an objective basis, to be in this industry. And I'm just curious from your perspective, like, have you seen that? Have you felt that? Can you relate to that sort of feeling that it has become more competitive than previous years because you have been doing this for some time now?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely gotten more competitive, and I think it's gotten even more cutthroat, not just competitive, but more like aggressively competitive. So I
Hmm.
feel, I think it's really important to be on top of your game and to make sure that you're, following the trends and staying on top of them.
That's exactly right. We saw in the chat, we got a comment, been doing this for 38 years. Kudos to you. I mean, being in 38 years in the business is incredible. Never seen it this way. I think that's exactly right, which is to say that this is not a normal market. Yes, transaction volume's been depressed a little bit, but that's not the full story. The full story is you have to bring a different version of yourself to win in this market. And Jen, I wrote this down and I'd love to get your reaction. And if you would add anything to this list, which is I think there's three things that I've observed traveling all across North America, talking to tens of thousands of agents who are trying to grow their businesses. There's three things I've observed to be the points of differentiation. Agents who are winning versus the agents maybe who are struggling to sort of break through. Number
Mhm.
one is their willingness to embrace new ideas, new strategies, new tactics. I think without a shadow of a doubt, that is if you're stuck in your old ways, I mean, that is a death knell. Number two is they prioritize marketing and sales, which is they think about their mornings or their afternoons, whatever they like every day they're trying to do something to fill their pipeline. And they don't get caught in the vicious cycle of like getting a bunch of customers, servicing them, stop marketing, and then kind of like starting back from the beginning. And I think the third thing is they've got a plan. And what I mean by that is they wake up every day and they know what they're supposed to do. and they go out there and do it. Is there anything else you would maybe add to that list of like what you've observed? Because you work with a lot of top agents as well. Anything else that
Mhm.
kind of jumps out to you as like a characteristic of winning agents right now?
I would say they don't make excuses. They don't say like, I've heard a lot of agents that are struggling right now and they're like, well, social media doesn't work for me, or I've tried this
Mm,
and it didn't work. And the fact of the matter is if you do it once or twice, it's not going to work. It's consistency. You
hmm.
have to do these things. You have to, learn something new and then do it consistently to see results. And I think that's something that a lot of agents just don't understand. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, just get out of your own way and then watch also a lot of the agents that I know that are super successful, they watch what other agents that are successful are doing, and then they make it their
Yeah.
own.
Yeah, you're spot on, which is I talk to agents sometimes, newer agents, usually newer agents to be clear, where they'll come and say, "Hey Jimmy, I tried to do this like thing you've been telling at posting on social media, and I didn't get great results yet." And they go, "How long have you been doing it for?" They go, "2 weeks." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Okay, let's slow down here a little bit." And so I think there's a lot to be said about having the mental fortitude and the discipline to just continue to do the work. One of my favorite quotes, Jen, from E. Sharp, the founder of Four Seasons, he goes, "Excellence is the capacity to take pain." And I think
Mhm.
this represents our industry, which is, sometimes we don't live in a world where like we're like a grocery store. We get a customer in, they're checking out in that same, and within 20 minutes. We live in a world where the relationships we build today is the business that comes 6 months from now. And that delayed gratification is incredibly challenging to mentally to sort of embrace that. So, Jen, let me just launch a quick poll here because I want to know from everyone who's a part of today's session because we had almost 1,300 people register for today's session. I want to know, which membership do you have with Listing Leads? Are you part of the Listing Attraction Plan? Do you have the Creator Plan, or do you not have a membership yet? Okay. And so, Jen, while that poll's running, if you could maybe share your perspective, because you've been a member of Listing Leads since the very beginning. Thank you for your
Yep,
support.
you're welcome.
Prior to partnering with us at Listing Leads, what did you do? Like, how did you build your marketing plan? How did you find good ideas? And then maybe talk about what your kind of day looks like and your week looks like now that you're a member.
So prior to Listing Leads, I would spend hours and hours and hours and hours looking at ideas and ways to, look at all the other agents that I was inspired by and look at what they were doing. I would go and research. I would go on YouTube, and that is a lot of time that I was spending trying to figure out what marketing tactics were working rather than focusing on my business and in another
Hmm.
way, focusing on my clients. And so it was just super. And also before Listing Leads, I also had a marketing in-house sales and marketing manager. And so they were also doing that. So not only was it my time, but it was their time spent looking for ideas. But since Listing Leads, my days and weeks, it's more like my week. So once that goes out, the calendar of exactly what I need to do for the week, that sets me up. I just plug and play. I put everything in and we just run the plays. I mean, it's set up. It's so easy for us to do, but I think that I'm getting so much time back.
Yeah, well, that's awesome to hear. I think what's interesting, I'm looking at the report right now, and we have about 40% are part of the listing attraction plan, 10% are part of the creator plan, and the remainder are people who are exploring joining Listing Leads. So I'll share. Today's is a training call. So today the agenda is I'm going to walk through the listing attraction plan that we publish every week. So Jen and I will talk about that. We're going to get into the creator plan, which is talking about our social media libraries, our YouTube library, our Instagram library, our ad library, and our viral leaderboard. I think these are, there's so much that we put into this that I think you're going to love. And I want to make sure everyone's taking full advantage of this. And then we'll also talk about some pillar strategies. Because, Jen, one of the pillar strategies that we've been really hammering home, and I'd love for you
Mhm.
to share the results you've gotten from this, is expired listings. Yeah, we saw the data on this. Expires has increased over 100% in the last 12 months. I think that number is going to continue to rise. And so we want to cover some of these pillar strategies, things that can complement the plan, complement your social media, and kind of act as a backbone to your business. You've been doing the Expire Blueprint. I'd love to hear your take on what's been working for you there.
I've fallen in love with expireds because they're so easy to get. We know they want to sell, so that's
Yep.
great. And then we know that it didn't work out before. So I love expireds because I send out the expired letter, but then I follow up with a phone call. And
Hmm.
I call them and I talk about, there are three reasons why there are three reasons why a home generally doesn't sell. There's something wrong with
Hmm.
its price, or your marketing strategy wasn't the right marketing strategy for your home. And so before I even make that call, I'm going through and I'm looking at their marketing. I'm looking at the listing.
Yeah.
What was wrong? What would I have done differently so that I'm prepared to tell them what I would do differently? It works, Jimmy. I'm not kidding you. It works every time. Unless they've already signed an agreement, it's
Yeah.
working.
Well, we know, and I'd love to hear this because we're now about 7 weeks into the new year. So, how many listings have you taken from Expired Marketing since the beginning of the year?
Since the beginning of the year, I've taken seven expired
7 listings. I mean, and your average price point is
800,000.
okay. So this is the thing about Expired. So everyone can do that math really quickly. So 7 listings from one of the pillar strategies that we coach is mind blowing. And I think what's interesting is we know. I was talking to my friend Curtis over at RedX. He has some of the best data on expires and FSBOs, and we're talking because 42% of agents, or 40% of listings, 42% of listings are going to relist with another agent. And the time frame is usually within that sort of 60 to 90 days, which is why that follow-up plan has to be more than a few days. It has to extend sort of over the sort of entire decision-making process. Heidi asked in the chat here, and by the way, we're gonna cover, just as a quick FYI, we're gonna cover the plan, we're gonna cover our social media libraries, we're gonna talk about pillar ideas, and then we're gonna get into our partnership with Brick by Brick Collective, because I know a lot of you on today's call really love these ideas, but you need some help. And so we're going to talk about our partnership with Brick by Brick Collective at the end of today's session. Heidi asked a quick question, which is she asked, "We can't do expired listings in Canada. What can we do instead?" So Heidi, when we get into the pillar content, I'm going to give you a few other pillars that absolutely crush in Canada and the US that you can implement if you can't do expired listings. So if you got questions, do me a favor because the chat's going to be blowing up.
Okay.
Our team is monitoring right now. So McKenna, if you want to make sure you're just grabbing all those questions, and we'll get into the Q&A towards the end of today's session. All right. So on that note, Jen, let me give we're about to get into the plan, and we're going to share some best practices to talk about this. Let me just give a little bit of the origin story of listing leads, because I do think this is important that everyone kind of understands why this exists. So as Jen mentioned, when I looked at the market, we saw agents spending an extraordinary amount of time trying to figure out what to do. And when you spend all your time looking for good ideas, trying to find people to follow on social media, trying to think about what emails to write, trying to think about what postcards to design, when you're doing all that work, you're not actually doing the things that get customers, which is execution, which is sending the postcards, emailing, texting, calling, right? Posting on social media. So we just saw this really big gap in the market. There's 100 different technology companies out there that will help you send an email, post on social, text people, but there was no company really helping agents get listings on the creative side. And so I partnered with my buddy Tom Ferry back in 2023 to create a program called 100K in 100 days. And this was probably one of it's probably to this day, the largest listing attraction experiment in history. We got, Jen, I think in the first run, we got 2,000 agents to participate in that program. And this was, and I know you guys will all remember this in Q4 of 2023. Jen, that was you might black out, right? You might have blacked out from memory. It was a very tough quarter.
Yeah.
um, and I think it was because it was on the back of interest rates were just keeping climbing. The market was getting kind of compressed. That still the commission lawsuit was full underway. So we launched the 100K program, and we helped 2,000 agents close over $7.5 billion in listings in 100 days. And so that program represented sort of the seed that eventually became what Listing Leads is today, which is a company like ours, which is a creative agency doing all of the work required so you guys can just go out there and execute. And so it's been this incredible run. We now have grown the program now to over 3,000 agents across North America. And we have to, I think at this point, our mission is very simple. We want to fill your funnel and help you get listings. We believe our point of view on this, Jen, is that listings equal leverage. Our point of view is if you got listings, you control the market. If you control the market, you have a successful, profitable business. So that was the inspiration behind it. So on that note, let me go ahead and share my screen and give everyone kind of a quick overview of what we do every week at Listing Leads. And just in the chat, let me know. Can you see my screen? Is this all working well for us? Yeah, awesome. Cool. So at the heart, and Jen, you and I will talk about each of these individually, but at the heart of Listing Leads is every week we create a timely and relevant and effective marketing campaign. And we break it up on a day-by-day basis. So we say, hey, every day we want you doing this campaign. So Mondays are always the deal of the week. Tuesdays will typically be an email to your database. Wednesdays will typically be a text message. Thursdays will be a sort of social media challenge. And then we'll have sort of a bonus one on Friday, which might be a mailer for your farm, or it might be maybe a social media video, or it might be an additional email. And the process that we go through, Jen, that I don't think people understand is we spend, I mean, the team, the designers, the creative directors, myself, we spend somewhere between 80 to 100 hours a week collectively as a team to condense this down for you. So we're using ChatGPT deep research. We're reading every article on CNBC and Redfin's economist reviews. We're listening to earnings calls from these publicly traded real estate companies. We're studying social media marketers outside of real estate. We're analyzing the 1,000 people that we track right now, what they posted recently, what's working. And we try to take all these inputs and connect these dots to create something that is something you are proud to send, something that represents your brand well. We don't do this like now's a great time to buy or date the rate, marry the house nonsense. We are a consumer first agency. We say, what can we do? What can we put in front of our customers that they are going to be excited to share that's going to get them results? So Jen, let's start with the Monday plan, which is the deal of the week. And so the deal of the week is a very simple strategy popularized by my friend Sharon, which is basically saying, hey, listen, we've got a great deal that's hitting the market. And if you want to get more information about it, let me know. I'm curious from your perspective, what would be your advice for everyone who's listening to sourcing the best deals? So let's assume they don't have a listing right now. What would be your advice for sort of finding a deal that they should promote based on your experience?
So if I was an agent that did not have a listing, I would go looking for, obviously you want to be on top of the market. You want to know what listings are coming on the market, what's on the market. And so, and what do you want? You put out what you want more of. So if you, I would be very particular about what kind of listings that you want to attract. I would find a listing that's currently on the market. I would reach out to the agent and ask for permission to market their listing, give them credit for it being their listing, and go try to find other listings that are like it. That's exactly how I would play it.
And so let me just recap that. So what I'm hearing you say is, because we get this question all the time, if I don't have a listing, Jimmy, if I don't have a listing, what should I promote? I think there's two approaches. And I think Jen's really spot on here, which is first is what types of buyers that do you want to work with and what type of listings do you want to work with? And so let's say as an example, your average price point in Hood River is $800,000. And you know that $800,000 is a desirable price point that has lots of interest, that has big buyer pool. You're not saying like you're not taking a $4 million listing, which is a very narrow audience that it can appeal to, that like probably most people are not going to be interested in if that's your market. You're saying, I'm going after a specific listing in a specific area, the specific price point that represents a type of business I want to attract. That makes complete sense. The second thing is it's worth noting that if you position the listing properly, and I'll pull up an example of this. So this is we do a deal of the week for social media. We do a deal of the week for a letter, which I'll talk about here in a second. We do a deal of the week for an email, and deal of the week for text. So if you position the email properly, you actually don't need the agent's permission, which is an important footnote here. So Jen's typically using her listings because she has so many listings. But if I don't disclose the address, the neighborhood, the price, I am simply saying I found a home that I think is worth like looking at. If you'd like to get more information about this, then reply to this email. It's the same thing, Jen. If a buyer comes to you and says, "Hey, do you have any good deals?" You don't have to contact the listing agent to say, "Do I have your permission to share this?" You can just share that. You can't publicly promote other agents' listings. What we're doing is we're promoting the deal of the week, which gets them to raise their hand. And so I think the really important point there, Jen, that you hit on is be very intentional about the listings that you select for the deal of the week. Now, Jen, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you have listings like you do right now, do you typically just rotate through your listings to feature them as a deal of the week? Do you have a process on picking which one you focus on? Like what's the if you got 4 or 5 listings you're carrying, I can imagine that you don't want to upset your clients by like promoting someone else's listing as a deal of the week. So how do you manage that sort of balance?
I rotate through them. I mean, some of our listings have been on longer than others, and so they've been featured. So spring market is well underway and it's already starting here in Hood River. And so as listings are coming on, they're being featured as deal of the week. But then
Yeah.
if it gets a little bit slower, then we go back to listings that have been on for a little while. If there's
Yep.
a price
And I
drop,
think what's
if there's a price drop,
yep.
deal of the week. If there's, a change in something that's been on for a while, that's a good opportunity.
Yeah. So anytime it's like coming soon, new listing, price drop. These are sort of what you call marketable moments. Now,
Yes.
one other opportunity for deal of the week, and this would be applicable to our U.S. clients, which is if you go to Zillow and you search, like using Jen's tactic here, search by kind of your desired price point, desired kind of area. You can look at all the new listings in the last 7 days. And then
Mhm.
from there, you can look at the listings that have the most views, most saves. And that tells you that consumers are being drawn to that particular property. And so if I was like really I don't have any new listings right now and like I'm trying to look at a cheat code, I would use kind of the social proof from these portal websites to drive which home I actually promoted. Now let me give you a quick pro tip here. The deal of the week. I mean, Jen, you and I talk about it all the time about like, just the consistency in marketing. I am telling you right now, the deal of the week in the chat. Let me know if you've been executing the deal of the week, because the deal of the week, what's really interesting is it is the little engine that could. Everything, having helped agents generate like $50 billion in business in the last 12 months, everything comes down to one basic idea: start more conversations. And the deal of the week is a conversation starter. And so, what's really smart, and for those of you who are doing the deal week, you already know this. Share the results you're getting from this. And again, you can do it on Monday, you can do it on Thursday. The plan is designed to be directional. You don't have to always follow it exactly to the T. We just want you doing all of it. So, what's interesting is this is super important. I'm going to challenge our group here for all our clients who are part of Listing Leads right now. I don't want you just sending the email. Every kind of few weeks, we update with some new creative. So this is a beautifully designed Canva template we created, which is based on the sort of New Balance ad, which is I can't like. So this is kind of like we had this phrase in it at Listing Leads, which is market like you gossip, which is, hey Jen, I really shouldn't be telling you this. Hey Jen, you didn't hear this from me. And it's a way to kind of get people's attention. So you see how this visual here is I can't share all the details with you about this new listing. It's like it's kind of, again, we're trying to be playful and coy here. It's in a great neighborhood. Here's why I love it. And then here's the poll. Want me to send you all the details? And so the deal of the week is not just an email. It's not just social. It's also, we recommend you texting this to people, like texting this to 10 or 15 people in your SOI. So Jen, my vision here, and I would love to get your take on this. Why do you think so many agents struggle with getting referrals today? Meaning, if you were to sort of like assess why agents struggle with referrals, because we know the data says 87% of people would hire their agent again, but only 12% actually do. So they really struggle with repeat customers and they struggle with referrals. What is it about referrals that you think is just fundamentally challenging from an agent's perspective?
Well, it's two things, Jimmy. One, it's that people aren't staying in touch with their clients. They close the
Yep.
business and then they never talk to them again. So in order for somebody to keep you, in order for somebody to think of you to refer you business, you need to stay top of mind and you need to be the person that they think of when they think of real estate. And so that
Hmm.
is, I mean, that's probably the number one thing. And then the second thing is they don't ask. They don't say like, is there somebody that you know that, I'm really careful about how I ask for referrals. I'm never like, hey, do you have anybody that's looking to buy or sell? Because that's just not my style. But I usually say something more along the lines of like, if there's anybody else that you can think of that I can support or that I would be
Yeah.
helpful for, like I helped you, I'd love to help them as well. Something like that.
Yeah, I think, and I love Frank's comment. Frank goes, I feel attacked. Listen, Frank, this is a no judgment zone, okay? But the reality is that like the reason why we don't ask for referrals is because we don't have the right script and in the right approach. And so when I go to back to the deal of the week, you'll see here we have the deal of the week text. And what I want to challenge you on is if you look at the deal of the week text, so like I'll role play this with Jen. I would text Jen, "Hey Jen, listen, I've got this." And like again, I'm using my own voice here. I've got this new. I know that you're not looking to buy, right? So like I might start off right, just like we use this expression, destroy the objection. I might say, "Hey Jen, I know you're not looking to buy, but I came across what I think is probably the very best deal in Hood River. It's going to hit the market in the next 24 hours. Here's what I love about it. Boom, 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 boom. Who do you know in your network that's in the market that might be interested?" And so what I'm doing there is I'm creating a referral moment by presenting valuable information to people in my SOI. And so I'm going to go through that again. Hey Jen, I know that you're not currently in the market, but I just came across what I think is the very best listing in Hood River. There's a few things I love about it. Bam, 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 bam. I might even say, I know you know everyone in this area. Who do you know
Yeah.
who might be interested? And so they're going to then like from that point say, it's funny you mentioned that. I've got my brother, my sister, my uncle, my friend who's looking to make a move. I say, great. Would you mind making a connection? And so I want to challenge everyone who's part of listing leads and everyone who's going to be joining listing leads. I don't want you just sending the email. I mean, cool. If you do that, great. Awesome. I want you posting on social. I want you sending that text message to at least 5 to 10 people in your SOI every single week. And what's going to happen is Jen, you know this. Is there a better lead than a referral? Like,
No.
is there? Jen, what's the how much commission do you have to share with your client when you get a referral lead? Is it
Zero.
35%, 40%, or is it zero? Right? It's like,
Yeah.
and so anytime you can generate high quality opportunities that don't have any single sort of attached, referral attachment fee associated. I mean, that's a low hanging fruit. So deal of the week. We're gonna go on to Tuesday here, but deal of the week is
One
I
thing to
want.
add, Jimmy, real quick, is that with the deal of the week text too, and when you're, asking for referrals, even if they don't have somebody right away, they're not like, oh, my brother, my sister, whatever. When they are at the coffee shop and they're having a conversation, or they're somewhere later in the day, in the week, in the month, and they're talking to somebody who this conversation comes up, guess who they're going to think of? You.
Yeah, yeah. That's exact. I mean, it is. You know what's interesting, Jen? The Zillow put out fantastic research on this, which is they ask sellers, how long do you think about selling, right? Before you actually put your house on the market.
Yeah.
And the average person thinks about seriously selling for 3 to 4 months. So you've got this window where if you're not in regular communication with them, let's say I did a pop by, in the December where I dropped by a pie at their house. Cool. If they start seriously thinking about selling their house and say, I don't know, maybe like early April, and it's been 4 months, and at the same time, there's another agent, which there always will be, another agent. By the way, 1,000 watt put out data on this, Jen. The average consumer, this is mind blowing. The average consumer knows 8 or more agents. Okay.
Oh
So
yeah.
like if another agent is in their inbox or texting them or sending them a mailer, like while they're in that zone, and it's been 4+ months since like you're going to lose that business, and
Especially in my
that's
market,
why
there's
that
like in my market, I think everybody and their brother and sister and mom are agents, so they're everywhere.
that's exact. And let us know in the chat. Can you relate? Is your market hyper competitive? Like let us know in the chat,
Yeah.
because Jen, I think what's important here. This is a principle in marketing, which is frequency breeds trust. And so
Yes.
if we're just in front of people more often, they see us more often, they get our texts more often, they emails, like it helps establish that trusted connection. All right. So last point on Monday. Again, we're just as a quick FYI, this call is recorded. We'll stick around for Q&A. We probably will go over the hour mark because we have a lot to cover today. I want to give one last pro tip, which is we have a new campaign called the Deal of the Week letter. So Monday, you log in, or Thursday, if you're doing it on Thursday, you do the email, you do the text, you do the social post. And then occasionally, if you got the budget, I would encourage you to say, if I found a house at 123 Main Street in Hood River, I would actually get a list of 100 homes around that property that are similar to that property. Maybe it's a 4 bedroom, 3 bath, $800,000 price point, own the house for 10+ years. I get a list from my data provider. That could be your title rep, it could be RedX, it could be Espresso Agent, whatever that might be. And Jen, actually, just as a quick footnote, when it comes to getting data, what's your go-to source? Do you go to your title rep? Do you go to a service? Like, what's been when you're doing a mailing, who do you use for data?
I go to a company like RedX. I go to RedX to get that data. Yeah. And somebody asked earlier phone numbers. I have had a lot of success with a company called Forewarn, Forewarn. It's actually to do background checks, but their data is awesome. So,
That's awesome. And we'll drop the link in the chat as well.
yep.
So what you're looking at, and I know for my Canadian clients, they can't call the same way we can call in the US. So that's why letters really do matter. And we'll talk about, and I didn't forget your question, Heidi. We'll talk about the other pillar if you can't do expires, because it varies based on the province. So what you're looking at with a deal of the week letter, I have had so many listing leads members, part of our community, email me, text me, DM me saying, Jimmy, I just got a deal from the deal of the week letter. And so the way this works is that if you identify the deal of the week, whether it's your listing, another hot listing you found on Zillow, or just a great home that you know that's gonna attract potential buyers, you get a list from RedX of the 100 closest homes that are similar, and you send this letter. This letter is designed to create a curiosity gap in the mind of the consumer, where they say, oh, that's really interesting. Maybe my home is worth more than what's showing up on Zillow. So what we're saying is, hey, there's a home near your house that's getting a lot of attention. I featured it as my deal of the week. Here's some data points. You can just have 2 or 3 data points. It's got lots of views. It's probably going to sell quickly. Why does this matter? When a home in your neighborhood gets this type of attention, buyers are willing to pay a premium. And it means that your home value is likely going to go up. The most important question we always answer, Jen, when it comes to marketing is the so what question. For the consumer, if I'm getting a letter from you, so what? Why should I care? You should care because it means your home value is going to increase. If you'd like to get information about how it's going to impact your home, text me. Here's my phone number. So going back to the deal of the week, that Monday deal of the week, this thing is like, I want everybody who's on today's call, I want you starting the week off with a bang. Build that momentum early. So send the email, post on social, text 8 to 10 people in your SOI, And if you've got a little bit of a budget because you're executing the plan, you're getting a lot of listings, then like invest in maybe just dropping 100 letters around that home. That should be your everyday Monday routine. Jen, any other closing thoughts before we move on to email and text as it relates to deal of the week?
I can't think of anything. I think we covered it. Yeah.
Cool. All right. And so for questions, again, we're tracking everything. So McKenna will jump on towards the end. And McKenna, if you want to just queue them up for us once we get to that point. All right. So Jen, the next thing we're
They're
going to
great
cover is,
questions, though. Keep them coming, guys. These are awesome questions. We're excited to answer them. So keep the questions coming in the chat.
yeah, real quick, Jen, on the forewarn, they do scrub against DNC. I saw that one coming real quick. So you have the do not call list. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
That's
It does.
that's a,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does have the DNC. Mine has DNC next to it. So it says if
Awesome.
they're on the do not call list. Yeah.
Yep. So you should just respect the DNC and absolutely do not be texting people in the DNC. Okay. So we have what we call the 1-2 punch at Listing Leads, which is an email of the week and a text of the week. These again, once you do the deal of the week, we want to make sure we're also sending out an email of the week that's timely and relevant. So I'll pull up this week. This is February 18th. And I'll give you just an example of this, which is should you try to time the market? And the approach we have with the email of the week. And Jen, we'll talk about segmentation here in a second, but I want everyone to understand the approach is that we know that if we just send emails, do you need to sell? Do you need to buy? If we just send that, we're going to burn through our list. I mean, like if we just hit that first like direct response every week, right? Like dial for dollars or convert or die, we're going to miss out on the vast majority of opportunity. We know that the life cycle of a lead typically takes 18 plus months to convert. Okay, we know that to be true. We also know that the selling cycle is several months. We know that if we can get in front of them at least 4 or 5 or 6 times with something of value, we have a much better opportunity converting that person into an appointment. And so our approach to the email of the week is we have a very simple philosophy: value first always, which is what's happening in the market that we can educate the consumer about, share some insight, give some perspective, and then as an opportunity, earn the right to maybe ask for the business. And so what you're seeing here is this is an email where we said, hey, despite kind of popular belief, 64,000 people listed their house. And then we'll source multiple different reputable news organizations that here's what's happening. And then we start to talk about, hey, like if you're thinking about selling, here's some of the questions you might be asking. And we give them some information about that. And then we have an offer. Hey, if you want to get more information, just text us, emails. Now, let me give you a quick pro tip. Every week, I want you sending your email of the week to either your prospects or your SOI. So Jen, I want to hear from your perspective as it relates to segmentation, because this is a big hot button issue. Everyone on today's call, if we were going to grade them on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the world's most organized CRM, right? It should be in the Louvre because it's so perfect, versus 1, it's a complete disaster. I bet that the majority of people would give themselves between a 3 to 5. So I think the fact that a lot of people's CRM is not as organized as they'd like prevents them from sending emails that get results. What would be your advice as it relates to segmenting your database so you don't get caught in that kind of analysis paralysis?
The biggest issue, Jimmy, is not that is there are two. One, it's just a complete disaster, or 2, it's too organized. So
Yeah.
I think people overcomplicate their CRM, and I think it should just be segmented into 2 buckets. 1, prospects, 2, clients. Who are prospects? Prospects are people that you want to work with but aren't working with yet. And clients are people that you are currently working with or people that you've worked with in the past. It's that simple.
Yep. Yeah. I think you're spot on here, which is this is going to require some people to have a moment of faith here for us. Is that And I think it's a great call out, Jen. Some people's databases are too organized. They have 65 different perfectly organized segments. And the problem is that An overly organized database makes the process of communicating with those folks nearly impossible. Which is if I got 15 different segments and I wanna stay in touch with them 2 or 3 times a week, or at least 3 or 4 times a month, that means I'm having to create 40 to 50 unique messages every month. That's unmanageable. That's untenable. You can't do that.
Mm.
So our approach is every email we write so it can be sent to either your prospects or your clients or both. And I think what's important is our tone, right? Our tone of these emails. I'll pull up another example of it. Our tone of these emails are designed to be value first always. So if you send an email to a client, hey, do you need to fix up your home before you sell? Like this is the one we wrote last week. 68% of homeowners make at least one home improvement on their before listing their house, but does it always pay off? Here's some information that you should know. Like we're never sending an email that's overly aggressive, that's overly pushing them to like make a decision. We're trying to have a value first approach. So my advice is for your prospects, Jen, I want you emailing your prospects at least 2 times a week. And I wouldn't want you emailing your clients at least maybe once to twice a month. Now, you can do it more than that, right? You can do it more than that, but at the very minimum, your prospects is 2 to 3 times a week, and your clients are at least 1 to 2 times a month. Your clients are not gonna get offended if you send them 1 to 2 emails per month. I mean, they're not.
No.
If you send them 1 to 2 really overly aggressive emails about buying now, selling now, rates have never been better, which is not true right now. We touched 6.9% and then it jumped back up to 7. Like if you're overly aggressive, then it's going to impact your ability to convert long term. So prospects 2 to 3 times a week, clients 1 to 2 times per month. Jen, as it relates to people who maybe would say, Jen, is emailing your prospects 2 times a week, is that too much? What's your response to that?
No, I don't think it's too much. If it's too much, they will unsubscribe. And if they do, they're not for you. That's okay. Not a
Hmm.
big deal. There's plenty of people that are, and they're probably not ready to buy or sell if they are unsubscribing from or they're already working with another agent. So sayonara. So if don't be
Yep.
worried about people unsubscribing, people that are actually qualified buyers and sellers that are looking to work with an agent like you are going to be interested in what you're sending them, and be grateful for because you're providing them value. You have to remember, you guys, you're not spamming them with just like random information or trying to sell them something like, you know,
Yep.
you're not trying to sell them beauty products or something like that. Like you are providing value. So you've got to remember that and really, be confident in that.
That's exactly right. And so moving on to text of the week, like I said earlier, we have an email of the week, which is designed for your prospects or for your clients. And we'll get into some Q&A on that a little bit later. But then we also have a text of the week. Text is a cheat code. Text is one of the best, fastest, easiest ways to start more conversations. We know this from the 100K program and working with a lot of agents getting a lot of listings is that approximately 11 real estate related conversations equals a listing. And so texting is if you have a text with a client about potentially listing their property, then this is going to get the 1 of 11, 1 of 12 is going to convert into a listing, which is why texting really matters. Now, we kind of break up texting the same way we break up emailing, which is we have text for prospects and we have text for your clients. And so here's an example of one that we just created last week, which is the market update. And so what we're doing now, as you could see, is we're giving the client, or in this case, the member of listing leads, options, which is you can use any of these hooks, which is, hey, Jen, I just listed a property. To my surprise, it got an offer within 2 days. I shared this with a few of my clients and it's causing them to rethink their timeline of selling. Have you noticed what's been going on in the market? Again, conversations equals appointments, appointments equals listings. And so my advice here on texting would be my guidance for everyone who's watching right now is I want you sending 100 text messages per week. Okay. Doesn't need per day, like 100 per week. If you're at 100 per week, you're gonna get that momentum. And so what my advice is every single week we give you a new angle, a new topic, something that's timely, something that's relevant, something that's happening right now to engage your prospects or your clients. And so my advice here is 100 per week to your clients or your prospects, and we have that script available for you. So Jen, anything on texting that you think would be sort of worth noting? Because I know a lot of people right now probably aren't sending enough text messages this day.
Yeah, I think again, I think that there's just this fear that people have that they're, that they're being obnoxious or salesy or all the things that we don't want to be called as real estate agents. But what I can't stress enough is that you have to know that you're providing them value and that you're offering to help them. So this is not salesy, this is not obnoxious, and put yourself in the buyer or seller's shoes. If you had somebody that was reaching out that was able to provide you with a great level of service, wouldn't you be
Mhm.
wouldn't you be okay with getting these text messages a couple times a week? I think I
Yeah,
definitely.
and what we see, and to be clear, we definitely see clients who are part of our community add a little bit of personalization. They might
Yes.
say, "Hey Jen, hey Jen, I just saw on LinkedIn you got a new job. Congratulations, so happy for you. And oh, by the way, one more thing, I just wanted to reach out with you. I just had a client do X, Y, Z here." So we definitely see if you've got an existing relationship, we definitely see members kind of adding a little bit of a tweak. But the beauty of listing leads and why we exist is you don't have to think about it.
Yes.
We're writing these scripts for you. You can just use them and send them as is. You can add a little bit of personalization to them as well. So, Jen, as we wrap up on the plan, because today we're going to go over the plan, we're going to go over our social media library. We'll talk about the pillars. And we'll talk about our partnership with Brick by Brick, and then we'll end with some Q&A. Um, the last two things I'll cover real quickly is we'll always include a social media post for the week. So this is our social post of the week, and this is sort of a kind of a perfect opportunity to transition into our viral leaderboard. So on the left-hand side of listing leads, you'll notice that we have the viral leaderboard, our best ads, our Instagram reels, and our best videos. So if you're part of the listing attraction plan, you have access to the plan, you have access to all of our previous scripts for texting, for direct mail, for email, and for social. If you're part of the creator plan, which is specifically designed for the members who want to not only grow their business through direct mail and email and texting, but also really want to level up their social, we built this other kind of program called the Creator Plan. And the thing that we do with the Creator Plan that I think is so insanely useful is we organize, Jen, literally, I think we have well over 1,500 creators across the real estate industry on YouTube and Instagram, and we identify the best performing content they're posting that week. And we put it on our viral leaderboard. And so you can see here, we have all these examples of creative ideas that have gone viral. Like let me pull this one up real quick because this one's actually a great example of it. And I'll pull it up on Instagram. So this is from Courtney in Phoenix. And you can see here, this is what we call the faceless creator approach, which is basically what she's doing is she's just having B-roll with a call to action. And she says, comment, if you look at this one, comment no HOA to see a full list of homes. There are currently 45 homes with no HOA in Gilbert. They're starting at 389,000, going to 20 million, blah, 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 goes on. Just here's a CTA. Let me come back for a second. I'll show you this. She's been growing her channel like crazy. This post here, it was a no HOA one. I want to see here so you have it. This got 55 people to opt into it. 55 leads off of social media. Jen, you know this already. If you can get 5 leads a week off social media, you're crushing it. And so the viral leaderboard is really designed to be for our members who really want to level up social media. This is my approach, Jen, and I'd love to get your take on this. It's copy first, innovate second, which is study what these creators are doing and say, I'll apply that to my business. And then eventually, when you get really comfortable and really confident, you could try your own new ideas. But in my opinion, it's copy first, innovate second. You've been big on social. I'd love to hear your take on how to really use it to grow your business.
Yeah, I think I definitely have done the R&D, rip off and duplicate, as Tom Ferry calls it, and I've been doing it in a way where I only follow people that inspire me. So I've made my follower list really small, of the people that I follow, and I really look for agents that inspire me, and I look at what they're doing and then I make it my own. So it can be
Yeah.
something really small, it can be a small tweak, but that's a lot of the content originally before I started doing a lot more innovation on my own. I would just watch what other people were doing and then make it my own. You have to also remember, like, you have to be you. And if you're somebody who has a big personality and you love to do fun things like Marie Boatsman, who Marie B in Portland, she does amazing content. She has a great sense of humor and she's super fun. If that's your style, then follow Marie and do some fun like skit kind of content. If
Hmm.
that's not you and you're more reserved, that's okay. Follow somebody else who's a little bit more reserved and does content that's not so bold and, yeah, my
Hmm.
Instagram is at Jen Dillard too, Sahar, just at
Yeah, we'll
my
drop that in there.
Dillard, yeah.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so I think that it's just really important to make sure that you're yourself, but also put out what you want more of. Like I said before, if you want more sellers, put out content that's geared towards sellers. If you want to work with more buyers, put out content that's speaking to buyers. I mean, it's that simple.
Yep. Yeah, and just for context too, we have our best Instagram reels, which will again we have literally hundreds of Instagram reels from all different types of creators. I mean, people who sell in high-end luxury, people who sell middle America, people who do community focus, people do more skip-based focus. I mean, we cover every flavor of content creator in real estate. We also have the best YouTube videos where we actually use an outlier score. So again, I mean, literally hundreds of the best YouTube videos, like this one here, which is want to sell, wait to sell your home in Denver, Denver, the housing market. This one's from October. He has right here again, 1,300 views in this video. That's twice, two times more than what he normally gets on a video he posts on his channel. So that's an example where we'll feature these kind of outliers. So we built these incredible libraries for Instagram, for YouTube, and for advertising. We track all of the biggest and best advertisers in real estate. Like Orchard, in my opinion, is one of the best ones out there, Jen.
So
And
good.
what you're seeing here is like, I mean, they just have really good content that can inspire your social media. So what we do is, excuse me, what we do is we put together everything in the viral leaderboard. So for our Creator Plan members who want to get better at social media, like this is your kind of like this should be your go-to. Find something that we post that we share that you want to implement, and then like Jen said, R&D it, copy, then innovate. Jen, let me ask you one question on social media.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that people should be, or how do you think people should think about investing in like a videographer or an editor? Because I know that's something a big barrier to entry is. How do you think
Mhm.
about that as a strategy?
I think that having a videographer is great, but I think that if you don't have the budget and you're starting out and you're just really testing the waters with video, you do not need a videographer in order to be successful on social media. You need to have a phone and you need to have your face. It's literally like some of the most viral videos and videos that have gotten the most clients have been just a phone and selfie style or a tripod setup, and they do so well. It's just about you getting on camera and talking to your clients and talking to the people that you want to work with. Another thing that I always do when I'm doing video is I'm talking to one person. Talk to the person that you want to work with. And when you're talking to camera, make sure that you're thinking of that person. It will make your videos resonate so much more with the right kind of people.
You're so spot on. I'm pulling up an example of my Instagram real quick,
Yeah.
because you're right. Like, so for me, this video here, I shot on my phone, not a professional photographer. I'm out on my deck. It's the summertime. 38,000 views. This one, I'm like, between like a lunch date, I'm walking 21,000 views, 22,000 views. The high end edits is a bonus and a plus. It's not a requirement.
Yeah.
People ask me, Jimmy, what technology do you use to post your Instagram videos? It's literally my iPhone, my AirPods, and then I just use CapCut to add captions. I mean, that's it. And for me, that's been massively successful in growing my audience. But for you, if you want to level up and do high quality, totally fine. You should do that. But don't let that be a barrier to entry to getting out there and providing more value. And so, Jen,
Yeah.
on that note, let me come back here for a second. I'll share my screen again. So just to recap, before we move on to pillars, we still have probably about 20 minutes here before we get to Q&A. If you're a listing leads member right now and you're not part of the creator plan, you can just log into listing leads and just upgrade. It's $39 extra per month. Here's my advice. I would only be part of the plan if you want to prioritize social media. If you want to get better at social media, posting, videos, content, YouTube, if that's a pillar of yours that you want to add in 25, then there's no better plan out there. If that's not important to you for whatever reason, that's okay. I mean, that's totally fine. You're better off in the listing attraction plan, which is our weekly plan, our weekly libraries. So Jen, we talked about the plan. We talked about the social media libraries. I want to talk about pillars real quick because we got the question earlier from Heidi as it relates to expireds, and I want to jump into our direct mail library real quick. So for those of you who don't know, one of the sort of three pillars that I think exists in our industry for something you can do on a regular basis to generate business is number one, expireds. Number two is the magic buyer letter strategy. And number three is likely going to be FSBOs. And those are sort of the kind of the core three that just work really well. And so within listing leads, I'll pull up here, we have the expired marketing blueprint. And so this is not part of the weekly plan. This is you do the plan and then you choose a pillar. I'm going to repeat that. I want you executing the plan, deal of the week, text of the week, email of the week, social of the week, right? I want you to do that every week without fail. Like Jen said at the beginning, if you're super consistent, we'll help you fill your pipeline. We'll help you put you in the best position to get listings. We'll help you grow your business. Once you really have mastered that, whether you have a support team to do it for you or you're doing it yourself, once you've mastered that, you can add a pillar. And so expireds, we have a 7-letter sequence we build out. You can see it here, which breaks down, here's exactly what you should be sending. We have all the Canva templates. We have all the scripts. We have all the social media assets that go along with this. That's one pillar. The second pillar is going to be the magic buyer letter. Now, the magic buyer letter, this goes back to Heidi's question. I'll pull up an example of this because we have a few variations of this. Let me break this down. If you have a buyer who's qualified, ready to make a move, but hasn't found a home yet, you can use a service like RedX, find homes, off-market listings that match your buyer's criteria, and then send this letter out to them. And again, we have a few variations within this, so you can mix it up. I was talking to my friend Lourdes, because we're together here in Tampa and Atlanta for live events. And she's like, Jimmy, every week I get 4 to 5 calls off of the magic buyer letter. I've been doing it consistently for 6 months. And so if you don't have expireds in your market, or that's not a pillar you want to build, I would want you looking at the magic buyer letter strategy. Take an existing customer, find listings off market, and send out the magic buyer letter. This is something that is just going to fill your pipeline. Jen, out of curiosity, from your perspective, do you have any additional advice on magic buyer letter? Because I know you know the strategy. Is there anything that you would add to just like setting them up for success with this campaign?
What I would add is this, I said before that rip off and duplicate and make it your own. This is an area that you don't want to make it your own. These tactics work, and they work in the exact way that Jimmy's showing you. Don't go and try to make it different. I would just stick to what works and don't try to recreate the wheel, because I think I see people do that and they try to be cute with it and try to make it like something else than what it is, and it doesn't work as well. These are tactics that work.
Yeah, I'll pull up an example of that, Jen. So this letter here, we made some and that's one of the things we do with listing leads. If we're always testing and trying to improve on ideas. Tiffany Vasquez sent this exact letter out with her own kind of personalization to it, which is about the client, to around 85 people. She got 15 responses. She got 5 potential listings coming on the market from the campaign. And one thing that she did, she made a tweak because she's been doing it for a while. She used this line, which is, I promised I would do everything I can to help my client find their new home, which is why I'm reaching out. So we love that line. So then we updated our magic buyer letter because of how effective it was for Tiffany. So you're spot on. Like, you don't have to test it. We're going to be behind the scenes testing things for you. You just take what we were putting out there for you and use it for your business. Now, real quick, if for we had McKenna, we had a bunch of people who are part of today's session who are not part of listing leads already. So if you can drive them to, let me pull this up so everyone can see this. I want to drop this link in here. For everyone who's not a client today, you can just test drive it. Use it for 7 days. We have a free trial here.
Well,
If
that's
you go to
awesome.
listingleads.com, yep, free trial. You can sign up. We're going to by default kind of throw you into the creator plan so you can sort of see the full scope of what we're doing here. But you can create your account, sign up at listingleads.com/free-trial. We'll drop the link in a second. Create your account right now, set up, you'll get access instantly. The other thing I'll mention here is that you should 100% join our private mastermind group. So we have a private mastermind group right now. We have about 1,500 members. I'll also, McKenna, if you want to drop the link to that as well, I'll put it here in the chat just to make sure we can pin that. Is that once you join and become a free trial and test it out, join the mastermind group. I'm in there every day responding to questions, getting in there and making sure that we're providing a ton of value. So Jen, on that note, we talked about the plan. We talked about our social media libraries. We talked about pillar content. I'm incredibly excited because one of the biggest and the most frequent requests we get from our members is they love what we're doing, but they wish they could have a little bit of help. And so our vision at Listing Leads was to build a marketplace of trusted providers where people that provide additional support and services for our members, where our members can go to them to get the resources and the help they need, whether that's a Redex because they need help with getting a list, or whether they need a video editor to help them with social media, or whether they need someone just to really step in and actually help them execute these ideas because they really want to take full advantage of this. So I'm proud to announce that Brick by Brick Collective is the first member, first partner of our new marketplace. And Jen, I would love for everyone who's on today's call just to get a high level overview of your origin story here and then what we're doing with Brick by Brick Collective to help support our members.
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. Well, I am the co-founder and president of Brick by Brick Collective. And, the reason that Brick by Brick Collective was formed was because I'm an agent too, you guys. I mean, I am an agent and a team lead, and quite frankly, I was drowning. I had positions filled in-house that were costing me a ton of money, and I wasn't getting the support and the value that I needed in order to run my business efficiently and effectively, and it was crushing my bottom line. So then I went searching for an answer and found things that were similar or that were broad and for any industry, but nothing that was tailored to the real estate industry. And so my business partner, McKenna, who's also on the call, McKenna and I decided to start a company that provides business support services to real estate agents, team leaders, teams, brokerages. And what those levels of support include are finance support, accounting, bookkeeping, things like that, operations support, systems and processes, marketing support, implementing listing leads, and helping you to be able to focus on the things that you do best, which is selling real estate and nurturing your clients and staying in front of them. We do the rest. So we can take all of these amazing marketing tactics that Jimmy's providing to you, and then we can implement them for you, and you just see the deals, see the leads roll in. So
Yeah. Jen,
yeah. Go
we'll
ahead.
just add one thing there. I think it would be helpful for people because a lot of our members right now have tried to use a VA service and some have been successful, in fairness, some have been
Yeah.
successful, but I mean a lot. And let me know in the chat real quick. Have you used a VA in the past? Because I think one of the things that I hear a lot is that finding a VA, finding support, right? Like being able to, the reliable, the quality, it's been a huge struggle. I mean, like Tanya saying, yeah, I did, it's terrible. So Lydia, disappointment. And I think the other thing is that they require you to have long-term commitments and a fairly substantial kind of budget to support that. So it's low cost, but you still end up paying $2,000 or $3,000 a month. So
Yeah.
I'm curious from your perspective as an agent, what was the sort of the thought process you guys went through when thinking
Yeah.
about the packaging and pricing and the people that you source to be able to be in this role?
So we only hire, first of all, they're all college educated and they're excellent in their field. So we have a 0.01% hire rate. So anybody that we hire has to be a specialist in marketing, in operations, in whatever area that we're working on. We also have transaction coordination. So they understand the real estate industry, or they understand, what their specific area, that their area of expertise, but they also are all US based. So one of the, problems that I love, I had a VA in the Philippines and she was great, but there was definitely some issues with being able to correspond with her at the right time that I needed her and things like that. So being US based has been really, really helpful. Um, and then also we have pricing, it's hourly, so it's as needed. So the market, if the market scales down and you need to cut back a little bit, that's okay. If you want your business is booming and you need more help, great. We can support you in that too. So it's really
Yeah.
scalable for any real estate agent.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the most important thing in this market, as we all know, is at Listing Leads, we take what is, I think, a $4,000 to $5,000 a month agency level service, and we bring it to you for like less than $140 a month. And
Mhm.
we keep our costs really low at Listing Leads, so we can keep our prices really low. And
Yeah.
it's a principle we have right now. It's tough out there as an agent. We understand like the ebbs and flows of this business, so we are very committed. Even we have this new feature launching, which is called the CRM sync, which our campaigns will automatically sync to your CRMs. We're not charging more money for that. We're going to add in some AI features. We're not going to charge more money for that. We keep our costs low so we can pass on those savings to our customers. That is a principle we live by. And what I love about Brick by Brick Collective is that you guys are you. And what is the hourly rate you charge right now, Jen? Just for context, because people will want to
Anywhere,
know.
yeah, anywhere between 35 and $50 an hour. It just depends on what the service is. Yeah.
So, and to be clear, $35 an hour, and they're spending 2 or 3 hours a week executing a plan is
Yeah.
a massive value add. And to be clear,
Massive.
one thing that we're doing is we have trained, and we're going to continue to train the Brick by Brick Collective support team to be Listing Leads certified. So you're not
Yes.
going to pay for someone to learn how to use Listing Leads. We are certifying all of the support team. And Jen, I'm going to go ahead and just drop a link because I know everyone's going to ask, and maybe McKenna can pin this. If you are on the call right now and you are looking to help, you're looking to have someone support you with this role, my advice here is to schedule a call with
Absolutely.
the Brick by Brick team, and you can use that Calendarly link there to do so. You can schedule a call, and again, for our purposes, and the reason why Brick by Brick offers a lot of services, for us, we wanted to bring you on because we know that a lot of our members love the ideas, but they just need help executing. So, and Jen, we have some questions as well. Uh,
Yeah.
the CRMs is a support team trained up on all the different CRMs within real
Yeah.
estate? Because there's obviously more than like
There are
just
so
two.
many. Yes, we are. Our team is trained on all of the CRMs. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So we'll get into some Q&A, and we'll pull up the calendar link here as a QR code as well. Let me take a step back here and just recap some highlights, and then we'll get into some Q&A. First off, let me know in the chat if this training was helpful. I was embarrassed to admit this is the first training we've done at Listing Leads like this in 11 and a half months. So we're a new company. Give us a break. But if you felt this training was helpful, definitely let us know in the chat. My advice is this, is follow the plan every single week. If you do that, we will fill your pipeline full of sellers. Leverage the social media libraries we have to build your brand beyond your current database. And then finally, pick a pillar, whether it's expireds, magic buyer letters, or FISBOs. Pick another lead pillar to help grow your business. It's a wildly competitive market, but if you follow the plan, if you're active on social, and you have a pillar, you are going to have an incredible year in this business. And as Jen said earlier, if you're consistent with it, you will get results. So on that note, let's get into some Q&A, McKenna. If you want to unmute yourself, because I know we got a ton of questions flowing in. Jen and I will stick around, and we're seeing some great. And by the way, just real quick, I dropped the calendar link there. I'll drop it for Jen again. And for everyone who's not a member of Listing Leads, we'll drop the link to the free trial as well. You guys can sign up for that today, get access, and be sure to join Listing Leads and then also join the private mastermind group. All right, McKenna, let's get into some Q&A.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. I'd love to start hearing from you, Jimmy, about how do you approach expireds in Canada? I know we referred to coming back to that, and I'd love to hear your opinion and recommendations there.
Yeah, super quick. Certain provinces allow expired marketing. I was just in Vancouver. They allow you to do expired marketing there. It's a little more difficult to get a list, but you can get a list. We have a client who's top 10 EXP agent in the country who pulled me aside. He goes, I got 13 expireds. I think it was 13 expireds within the last like 6 weeks. So you can do expired mailers. Calling is pretty much forbidden across all provinces. So you're going to have to heavily rely on expireds. Letters is the first thing. The second thing is if you can't do expireds, like if you're in another market like Toronto, I believe can't do it. I would pivot towards another pillar, McKenna. I would move towards a magic buyer letter strategy or just general farming. I would move away from expireds and just move on to the next pillar. That's my advice.
Awesome. Thank you. We got a couple questions too about the coming integration with Follow Up Boss. Can you talk a little bit about that and when to expect that?
Yeah, so let me actually, I'll share my screen here in a second. So we're literally just wrapping this up right now. So just to be clear, the way our CRM sync is going to work, our two partners are Follow Up Boss and Sierra. We're in active conversations with Brivity, with Lofty, with KV Core, and a few others that we're working with as well. I have the complete list. We're going to integrate with all of them. But the way the CRM sync is going to work is that when you log into your Listing Leads account, you're going to add in your information, add in your API key, and then when we add a new template, whether it's an email template or text template, it will automatically sync to your templates within your CRM. Today, you have to copy and paste it, which we know is less than ideal, but still certainly very quick. We're going to just remove that step. And so that's our goal there. I think realistically, we'll probably be in beta on that by Thursday, Friday of this week with FUB and Sierra. And then we should expect sort of a full scale rollout within the next 10 days on that.
Awesome. So soon. That's so exciting. Amazing. I got a couple of questions too about sending communications to your clients and how do you think about sending communications to clients that, maybe bought or sold with you years ago versus someone who just closed a deal? Do you think about segmenting them differently or do you think putting them in the same segment makes more sense?
Yeah, this is a really good question. If someone bought a house 2 weeks ago from you, okay, you might not necessarily want to be in front of them really often. I mean, maybe both of you need a break, okay, to be clear, which is okay. So I think there is a very logical and real argument to say, I'm going to have my like kind of 1 year plus clients. So everyone who I've closed in the last year, I'm going to kind of put that now they kind of get the regular client communication. And anyone who's less than a year, then like I'm going to, maybe be a little bit more sensitive and just do more personal touches. Jen, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. My advice would likely have a little bit of a breather before you get, but not too long of a breather, but at least a little
Yeah.
bit of a breather before you start getting in their inbox.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea to have it segmented where it's a year plus and then also, but I do think that Yes and no. I think that you should still touch those clients. I don't think that you should not, not send them anything for a year. Absolutely not. I think it's important to stay in front of them, but maybe the communication that you have with them is not like the communication of, looking to buy, or like if they're looking to sell, it's more the referral type of touches, I think would be, sending them the deal of the week for other people that they may know.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think we should be a lot more concerned about the lack of communication than over communication.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're organized, you got the time, you got the system, sure, create some additional segmentation. But I think we live in a world right now where everything is moving so fast. We're all really busy. It's all real competitive. I'm always a fan of removing as much complexity as possible to ensure that you can execute consistently. And so if you can manage it, go for it, McKenna. If you can't, then I would say it's okay to sort of err on the side of I'm just gonna send them stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Super helpful. Um, Great. I got a few questions too about it's sort of in the same vein. How do you deal with sending out listing leads communications if many other agents in the area are also using listing leads, or sending, listing leads, how often is too often is kind of a theme of a few of these questions.
We have 3,000 members of listing leads right now, and there are 1.6 million agents in the country. The likelihood of those agents getting the same communication is going to be extremely low. If it is a concern of yours, thank God for AI. You could take AI and just take our email and just personalize it with your own tone of voice, if that's a concern of yours. I personally would not be concerned about it at all. I mean, I would listen, by the time that we have saturation, okay, when we have 75,000 members, we will have likely have introduced personalization through AI, where every single person gets their own unique message and no message is the same, which is, by the way, where we're going with all of this. But I would say if it's a concern of yours, then I'd recommend you just using AI to add a little bit of personalization, but I would not overthink that. I mean, that is not going to be an issue for 99.999% of members.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Great. There's a couple questions about drip campaigns and if you think drip campaigns make sense alongside listing leads. Do you have thoughts about that?
Yeah, the challenge with drip campaigns, because listen, I've been in this industry for 15 years. I've been helping agents market their businesses. I've written best-selling book, Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents, that now I think has sold over 250,000 copies. The big kind of lie that we've told ourselves is that drip campaigns are one of the best ways to convert leads. And the reality is the vast majority of drip campaigns, and I'm talking specifically about action plans, the vast majority of them are super optimized for the first 3 to 5 days. And typically they're written by people who are junior marketers who are just trying to convert a lead into a customer. And the conversion ratio on leads is so extraordinarily low within the first few days that the purpose of a drip campaign, the kind of the vision, the promise, which is that create a drip campaign and automate your marketing, you're gonna get tons of leads. If that worked, then people would not be constantly switching from Boomtown to Sierra to Lofty to Real Geeks. The reality is drip campaigns do serve a purpose to sort of make sure that we're like letting the customer know, hey, your information is now in our database, and hey, if you want to like look at listings, check it out here. But these are just oftentimes very poorly written, like aggressive, salesy, borderline sleazy marketing that I am not a fan of. I listen, marketing is about building trust. And if you can build trust with consumers, you're going to get the opportunity to earn their business. So I am not a fan of just this overly automated world that has been promised. It doesn't work. And no, listen, I love Fellow. I love Real Scout. I think they serve an entirely different person, a point of like personalizing kind of a search or personalizing a home value report. Awesome solutions. But drips, like I don't want to be dripped on as a consumer. Jen, I don't think you want to be dripped on as a consumer. Like, how's about we start providing value first and see what happens to our conversion ratio? So I know it's a strong
I would
opinion, but like, yes, go ahead, Jen.
I would be more concerned, I would be more concerned about sounding like a robot and sending drip campaigns than I would be about sending a similar letter to a potential competitor in your market that is, you know, has a catchy, like it's the listing leads, the way that Jimmy words all of the, you know, all of the letters, the emails, the texts, it's in the communication style is very conversational, and it's a style that normal humans use. It's not like robotic like a drip campaign is. So I would be more concerned about your drip campaign sounding robotic than.
Yeah, and in all fairness to drip campaigns, if your drip campaigns are value first and personalized, great. But I am the lesson here is you need to do more, which is, you know, when you have 15,000 people in your database or 5,000 people in your database or 3,000 people in your database, you just got to be in front of them stuff with timely and relevant. And you can't update your drip campaigns. Like, let's say, as an example, if I run a drip campaign in 2020 when interest rates were 3%, okay, and the market was absolutely, you know, supersonic, and all my copy, all my creative, all my language, all my messaging was really about that market. And I haven't, because I've been busy, I haven't got a chance to update those drip campaigns. Imagine me sending that message in 2025, which I can't believe it's been 5 years since that happened. Imagine what happens like when interest rates are flirting with 7% and transaction volume is down to 30-year lows and affordability and inflation is on the tip of everyone's tongue. Like, imagine if I'm still sending out those types of messages in an entirely different environment. And that's the reality of so many agents and teams, is that the message does not match the market, which is why we got to create something that's timely and relevant that's happening now. If we want to be relevant, our marketing has to be relevant. So good question. Hopefully that answers it. What else we got, McKenna?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple questions around what happens if you don't have a huge database, or what happens if your database, you live in maybe a small town or a more rural area where you like know everyone in your database, you've had a lot of touches with them. Do you have any other recommendations of how to change this or how to adjust this, or do you think it doesn't matter?
Jen, how big is Hood River in terms of population?
10,000 people.
Okay. What's been your, like last year, your sales volume in 10,000 people?
114 transactions.
114 transactions. And what do you think this year you're going to be on pace to do?
Close to 200 transactions.
Okay. So 200, so 10,000 people, 200 transactions. Are you the number one agent in Hood River, or are you in the top five?
I'm number one.
You're number one. Okay. Number two, how many transactions are they doing? Ballpark.
I mean, so I would say 100, that number is my team. So myself, I did 40.
Yeah.
And
So
so
that, like the number, so
number
behind your team who's,
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Probably 30, 35. So I did 40. They probably, number two agent did 35.
Yep. And if I start going down the list, maybe the next one does, you know, 27, next one does 25.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless if you're in a small market, unless you have 85% market share, I mean, there are still so many people who don't know who you are, and there's still so much business. And if you're in a tiny market where you have 85% market share, then the plan is to go in to add a new market. And so my advice would be, if you're that person who's listening right now, two things. You've got to make a decision on, do I want to go deep or do I want to add a new market? And if you have less than 30% market share, I would be doubling down, tripling down, grow, because again, a lot of agents are pulling back right now. I'd be tripling down my market. I would try to, if I'm in a small town, I'm trying to get to that number one position, and I'm trying to, you know, market share creates market share. So I'm trying to dominate that market. And then I'm moving into an adjacent market, right? I'm kind of using my strength and I'm opening up a sort of second market where I start doing farming and I start building my list on social media that way. So I think my advice to that agent is how much market share do you have right now? Decide on if you want to increase that market share, if that's possible and that's profitable. And if it's not, then can we move you into a secondary market that you could really build a business around? And maybe that's expanding into a team. Maybe that's, you know, maybe that's you moving that market directly or a partnership. But like, it's either go deep or add a new market. Those are sort of the two very like low hanging fruit things that you can do. But again, I would say like, how much market share do you have, and can we grow that through these campaigns?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Awesome.
What else we got?
We have questions about how do you see on Zillow what homes in the area are getting the most views? Like when you're looking for deal of the week, how do you actually filter for that?
You can't filter for it yet. So my advice would be, if you search by the like new listings within your price range, there's probably only going to be a handful of homes. And if you have like 300 homes, narrow the search, right? Focus on a really specific neighborhood. You can do a map search on that. And then when you click on the listing, you could see how many views that listing has. And so you can just quickly compare that. And oh, by the way, if that sounds like a lot of work, hire someone from Brick by Brick Collective and they'll just do that for you. Okay. Like if you don't want to do that, that's okay. Just hire someone to do it. But you would have to do it manually, kind of listing by listing, to find that home.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Someone smart, just quick note there, McKenna, someone smarter than me probably has a ChatGPT that can do that. That's also worth exploring.
Worth looking into for sure.
Yeah.
Amazing. How do you think about doing this when you work across multiple markets? Would you segment differently, like make two separate segments within the segments for the markets? Or do you think just lumping them together makes sense? How do you think about that?
I think everyone knows my answer, which is I don't like adding complexity unless it's absolutely necessary. The vast majority of the messages that we write are just about the market, not about your market. And so if you want to add a little bit about your market, that's totally fine. And if that were the case, then you certainly could segment, market by market. I do think there is advantages to doing that, to be clear. But if you have a deal of the week in Hood River, and then there's another deal of the week maybe in a separate town that's 30 miles away, right? You might say, you know what, I want to have those people segmented, but I would say make that the exception, not the rule. You with me on this? So the standard is everyone gets this message, but if you want to personalize it, then you can. The exception, there will always be a fringe case. The exception is we're going to go in this slightly different direction.
Awesome. What about if you can't preview or do coming soon in your market, how would you adjust this?
Meaning, if you can't do preview or coming soon, okay.
Yeah. Like if it's a pocket listing or something like that, how do you think about trying to get that out without being able to actually put it in listing leads?
Yeah, it's so Jen, I'll give you my answer, okay? Which is, I think there is nothing more powerful than exclusivity in marketing. And just the idea that you can't have it causes hysteria. Famously, a company called Supreme, which is a clothing brand, ended up selling for a couple $1 billion to one of the larger retailers. Famously used to have these drops where they would only make a tiny amount of clothes, and they would drop them on a specific day, a specific time, and they would instantly sell out. And then quickly those products would resell on secondary markets for 3 or 4x what they were paying retail, which was already expensive. So if I had a listing that I couldn't share because of some rule within my MLS or as a pocket listing, here's what I would do. I would say, like, if I was sending an email or text to Jen and say, hey, Jen, listen, I've got a listing that I can't share any of the details with you. Okay. Based on the rules of IMLS at this point. But if you want to have a conversation about it, because I think this home is going to likely sell quickly, text me back and we can chat about it. Like, I would use the fact that you can't promote it as the way in which I promote it. That to me creates that desirability around the lead. And again, all you're doing is telling them what you can't do. And so listen, you are walking that line with your MLS and your association, but are they going to be upset with you that you are simply just publicly sharing the rules that you are abiding by? And so we've had a lot of our members who are part of really restrictive MLSs, who are in the, kind of in the dark ages, use this technique successfully without getting fined. And sometimes sometimes, to be clear, sometimes the fines are worth the price of admission, depending on your MLS. If you can get 3 or 4 deals from a campaign like this and you're paying a $300 fine, like call that your customer acquisition cost. So Jen, that would be my advice. Would you add anything to
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, what I would add is, I would say something along the lines of, I have a listing that's coming out. I can't talk about it at all due to my MLS. However, if you want to be the first to know when I am able to share that information, I can add you to to the list of the very selective few people that I'm going to notify right away. So like, I mean, that's one way to do it, is just to give them like first dibs. And I think that also creates that exclusivity and you're following the rules. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So I know we're 30 minutes over. We try to answer as many questions as possible. We covered a lot of material today. We will send out the recording to today's session. So everyone will get the recording today's session. We'll include in the recording and the replay, we'll include, for those of you who are not part of Listing Leads already, we'll include a link to the free trial for those of you who are using it. We'll also include a link to schedule a one-on-one call with Brick by Brick Collective. Closing thoughts, Jen, for me, they're really simple. At the end of the day, all I want everyone doing, if you want to build your listing pipeline, you want to have the best year of your career in real estate, which you can do. You can beat this market. I don't care how competitive it is. You can beat this market. Follow the plan. Use the social media libraries to increase your activity and create content that actually gets views and likes and comments and reach. And then add one of the pillars: FSBOs, expires, magic buy letter. If you do those things, 3 things consistently, you are going to win big. And if you need help doing those things, well, we're proud to partner with Brick by Brick Collective and help all of our members take full advantage of all the things that we're doing. Jen, just closing thoughts as an agent right now. You have big goals to go to 200 transactions this year. What will be your last bit of advice to everyone who was part of today's session?
my last bit of advice is, if you're looking to grow your business, I would highly suggest just schedule a call with Brick by Brick and see how, we build everything we build the scope of work around you. So it's tailored to you. So there's not like one size fits all package or anything like that. So let us help you. Let us take the things off of your plate that will allow you to be able to do more business and support more clients in 2025.
All right, Jen, thank you so much. And everyone who was part of today's session, we are going to do more of these trainings. We're not going to wait in 11 and a half months to do another one of these trainings. If you found them helpful, let us know in the chat. We'll probably do more of an open office hour session, because I think that would actually be a good opportunity for us just to have more conversations. And so if you're open to the open office hours, I certainly can figure out a way to get that on the calendar with the team so we can do more of these calls as well. But thank you so much for being part of today's session. Jen, McKenna, the whole team at Brick by Brick Collective, we're incredibly proud for you guys to be our first partners in the marketplace. And let's go out there and get some listings, folks. I mean, that's what we're all about here.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy.
See you, everybody.